Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, one of the civic partners for our show. My guests today are two Clarkson University students, Shelbi Dufrane and Michela Fraella, who collaborated on a book for children titled Finding My Rainbow. Shelbi and Michela, welcome to North Country Matters. It's a pleasure to have you both as guests on the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so let's get started off by having each of you tell us a little bit about yourselves and where you are in your academic careers at Clarkson. Shelbi, why don't you start?
All right. So I am currently a graduate student here at Clarkson University. I am going for my master's degree in occupational therapy, and I eventually plan on working with children in the community once I graduate.
Thank you. Michaela?
I am Michaela. I'm a third-year undergraduate student majoring in communications, media, and design. I began to attend Clarkson University in August 2023. I transferred to Clarkson University because my last school, Cazenovia College, shut down.
Oh, yes, I read about that. Actually, the communications department at Clarkson is where North Country Matters got its start. So we're in our 20th year, but so your program has had a big impact on this show for sure. So Shelbi, I understand that this project started out as your capstone project in the occupational therapy program. Tell us a little bit more about what a capstone project is and how it morphed into a book for children.
So the capstone project is essentially what we master students do to solidify. It's almost like I don't know what the word is. It's like the final statement that we do as master students to do a research project and whatnot with. And so through that, I wanted to do something with children's mental health. That was really big for me, especially because I want to go into pediatric occupational therapy. And mental health has been a huge part of my background. And I have always wanted to be a writer. And I decided that writing a book would be a really interesting project to do alongside my research for this capstone project. And eventually, after 2 months of writing the manuscript, I was like, okay, we've got a book. Now let's move forward. And that's when Michaela got involved and it kind of morphed into this bigger thing.
So how did you actually find Michaela to work with you as an illustrator? Did you know her outside of class or just kind of the luck of meeting folks?
It was kind of so I reached out to the chair of the media communications media and design department, and the chair there got me in contact with Miss Michaela, and it was really awesome. Once we met, I knew immediately I wanted to work with her. She was really driven and really wanted to, she was really interested in working on a children's book. So we really meshed well at the beginning, and I was really excited to get to work with her.
Oh, that's great. So Michaela, what is your background in art? Have you ever worked on a book project before?
I began my artistic journey even before I knew how to write. I feel that many kids begin with using Play-Doh or drawing with crayons, which I would say is how I began. But from there, I've worked with many different types of art as well, using many different mediums, drawing, painting, photographing, sculpting, kiln-formed glass, and woodwork. Art has always been an outlet to me in some way, which is a reason for why I'm so grateful for this opportunity to have illustrated a children's book. Before illustrating this book, I have already been creating art focusing on topics within mental health, such as well-being and identity. In 2022, from March to May, four of my original artworks were in an art exhibition titled Investigating Identity at Cazenovia College. The themes that my artwork consisted of in particular included exploration, self-reflection, youth versus adulthood, and growth through different stages of life. Then in August 2022, I won a chalk talk contest focusing on health and well-being at Cazenovia College, which is I had to do a chalk drawing in relation to mental health. And then before working on this book, I also had a photograph I captured used as a cover photo of a Cazenovia College's literary journal in May 2023 titled Memories of Kaz. But other than that, I've never really worked on a book before, but I'm really grateful that I have.
Well, it sounds like the two of you were a match just waiting to happen in terms of your life experiences and the opportunity to work on this project. So, Michaela, excuse me, Shelbi, what is the theme of the book and why did you title it Finding My Rainbow? I find that very interesting, a very interesting title. Tell us the story.
So the entire story follows Lulu, a little girl, and she has these storm clouds. And it basically, finding my rainbow came from the idea that Lulu is looking desperately to find her rainbow and her happiness again. And essentially, it's a story of her going through and finding her support systems to be able to find that rainbow and that happiness again.
Okay, so that's really an important topic, isn't it? Because when you are in the throes of that kind of crisis, it feels like there's no help. It feels like there's no one who can possibly understand what you're going through. And especially for a child, you don't even know how to ask the right questions, do you?
No.
So this is great. So, Michela, how did you and Shelbi collaborate to make sure the artwork helped to tell her story that she had written in the book?
Shelby and I collaborated very well to ensure that the artwork conveyed the message of the story the way that she envisioned it. Shelby thought that the best way to convey the message in the story is to ensure that the characters are in the form of people. And since this is a story similar to one that Shelby herself lived, the people in the story reflect people in her life who impacted her. She described to me how she envisioned her mom in the story, her grandma, and the character Miss Kate, and I try to bring her visions to life. I also wanted to ensure that a diverse range of people who read our book can see themselves in the story and feel represented. That is why I did not color certain features of the characters in. And then this also led me to think about approaching the story in the form of a child's journal. And if readers so desire to, I would like to open the opportunity for them to color the characters in as they like please.
Wow, that's a unique kind of way to approach the story and a good one. So, Finding My Rainbow is about childhood stress and anxiety. Ever since the COVID pandemic hit 4 years ago, there's been an increasing awareness of childhood stress and trauma, and New York State has diverted more resources towards it. But of course, it takes time to build the infrastructure and get trained people in place to actually meet the needs. The needs always seem to outstrip the resources, particularly as we are here in a rural area. So, Shelbi, how do you think your book is going to help children begin to identify the stressors in their lives and find a way to start to ask for help?
I think it allows for children to identify the feelings of not feeling quite right necessarily. I think it allows them to realize, okay, so I don't feel like going out and doing the things that I used to love to do. And that's an issue, but I can turn to these people that I love and they can help me and they can be there for me because they love me and they care for me. And essentially, I really hope that that message in the book is as powerful as we've tried to make it out to be, because a lot of children really struggle with identifying those symptoms of anxiety and stress, and being able to say, okay, this is what it looks like, hopefully will help these children start to understand what they're going through and not feel so alone.
So in many ways, it's kind of a book about symptoms, isn't it? The same way you would go to a doctor and say, well, my heart is racing or I have a pain in my leg, then that's how they try to figure out how to help you. Tell us a little bit, Michela. You talk in the book about the people who became your support network. Talk a little bit about who those people are and how they helped you as you dealt with your issues.
Me or Michaela?
No, I'm scary. Shelbi. Sorry, Shelbi. Yeah.
No worries.
I get confused with two casts at the same time. My apologies.
It's okay. So the people in my life that were the most influential was my family, especially my mother and my grandmother. And the story actually follows what I initially went through during my diagnosis, where I was really down and out. I stopped going horseback riding. I stopped playing soccer. I was afraid of absolutely everything. And through that, my mother immediately recognized, okay, this is not my child. This is not how she's always been. Took me to see a doctor, got the diagnosis. And then it was, okay, what's next? Got me in to see a therapist, got me into trying to figure out avenues that could help me stress and anxiety. My dad, unfortunately, he was not part of the book, but he was another really big influential person in my life. Um, he would always sit me down and we would say this poem together all the time. And he would just make sure I was relaxed. And when I was anxious or stressed, he would just be there for me and he would hug me. And same with my grandmother, you know, I didn't realize that anxiety can run in a family. And when my grandmother opened up to me about her experiences with what she struggled with, I felt better. And she was always there just for a shoulder to cry on or someone to lean on. And, you know, when she passed away, I lost that. And it's been difficult without her, but her memory still lives on in that I can hear her voice in the back of my head saying, you know, you can do this, just breathe. But they have been the hugest impact in my life.
You know, I think that you talk about sometimes this runs in family generational issues, and the fact that your grandmother, who grew up in a time when no one talked about these kind of things, was able to open up to you. This book really is not just for little kids, is it? It's for families, isn't it?
Yeah, it
So,
absolutely is.
so I know it's early in the game, but how have either of you gotten any feedback from your readers yet about the book?
So we actually did a focus group as part of my capstone project, and we got some really good feedback on the book. It was really interesting to hear different people's points of view. And there was one comment that said they weren't sure if it was about Lulu or about her grandmother. So we changed some of the coverings of the book, or we're working on changing some of the coverings of the book to reflect that it is about Lulu, but the whole story is encapsulated with all of the characters.
Okay, good. And Michela, did you get any feedback on your artwork? Did it do what you wanted it to do in terms of helping to tell the story?
I got positive feedback about my artwork, and people thought that it did tell the story the way that it could be understood. Um, with the storm clouds and the rainbows over Lulu's head, the readers were able to understand the way that she was feeling, and I feel that that is a very important part of the book.
Okay, thank you. So, Shelbi, you decided to self-publish your book on Amazon. Obviously, this went far beyond a capstone project at Clarkson. How does that self-publishing work, and what did you learn during the process?
So self-publishing works. I actually took a course by Jody Bonville, a good friend of mine, who taught me how to self-publish my book, get an ISBN number, get it published in the Library of Congress. And it was a long process, but with the help of my friend, I was able to get the book published. I actually have one of my copies here now that I was so excited to see in real life. But yeah, you have to get an ISBN number, you have to get it, you can register it to the Library of Congress. And then once you get to that point, you can go through Amazon's website, KDP, or Kindle Direct Publishing. You can upload the manuscript and the covers of the book, and it takes a few days for it to go through. But once it's all approved, you have a published book and you are all set.
So, is yours is a physical book as well as a Kindle book? Is that correct?
It was supposed to be a Kindle book, but unfortunately the manuscript didn't transfer quite the right way,
Mhm.
so it is just a physical
Okay.
book.
Okay, thank you. So would you recommend this process to others who are thinking about doing what you did, which is to write a book, either a children's book or anything else?
Absolutely. I think it's a very fulfilling experience to have written a book because there's so many people out there that could benefit from your message, could benefit from your story. And it's a really important thing to be able to share our experiences as a community because we can rely on each other. And I feel like there's a big piece of community there where you can look at one another and be like, you know, this is what I experienced, this is my story, and we can relate on this. And I think that'd be really good for other people to experience.
Yeah, well, the truth is that when you are trying to tell a story, telling it from your own point of view and adding that human element and human emotions is very important, particularly when we talk about something like mental health and those sorts of things, because you really have to feel like the person that you're talking to has kind of walked a mile in your shoes in order to really feel like they can help you, don't they?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's really big, especially like you were saying with mental health. It's really important that when you do open up to people that you do feel comfortable with them, but Also, not being afraid of what your shadows might hold is really important too, because, if you can open up to someone that you trust, it'll help you in the long run. And I hope more people come to realize that.
Right. And, obviously in the case of your grandmother, she probably never had anybody when she was young that she could open up to. So the fact that even though she was older when you went through your experiences that she could do that, it not only helped you, it had to have helped her as well.
Yeah, it was definitely a healing process for both of us because my grandmother and I were incredibly close when she was here on Earth. And it was definitely something that helped build our relationship even stronger because we were able to look at each other and we could understand each other in a way that most people really couldn't. We could see the struggles that each of us had gone through in our own different way. We could respect that about each other, and we could say, you know what, this is my story, this is how I've been, but this is how I hope I can help you.
Well, and that really is why you're going to be such an effective pediatric therapist, because you really have walked a mile in those shoes. So how has creating the book impacted each of you? Michela, why don't you start?
Creating the book has impacted me by allowing me to reflect on my own rainbows and storm clouds. I began working on this book almost right when I began attending Clarkson University after my last school shut down. And this was a time in my life that I really needed to reflect on my own rainbows and storm clouds and my emotions during this major shift. I feel that working on this book has helped me to do that. And also, creating the book has helped me embrace new challenges. As I'd never illustrated a book before, this was a bit daunting to me at first. I really wanted to ensure that I illustrated the book in a way the message of the story can come across very well and in relation to the author's vision. I feel that I can take this experience of a new challenge and be able to face other challenges that I put my mind to.
And of course, with your own college, Casanova College, having closed, and you ending up in a brand new environment at Clarkson as a transfer student, this must have been a great opportunity for you to really feel connected to uh, your new college, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it did for sure.
Yeah, I've actually been on the Casanova College campus, and it was a gorgeous, gorgeous campus. And so you really the whole community lost a lot when that campus closed because it was such an integral part of the community. So Shelbi, how has creating the book impacted you?
Having my story be told has been hugely impactful on my life, and being able to be heard and hopefully share this experience with other children and other families, I I feel very fulfilled, and I feel like, this is a really positive experience. I feel like I couldn't I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be more happy with how things have been. And it's made me really realize, that sharing your story and sharing what you've experienced can be very eye-opening and very positive, and it can help more people than just yourself. But it's definitely helped me reflect back on, my own experiences and be like, look how far I've come from that little 7-year-old girl who was diagnosed with depression and anxiety and didn't know what that meant, to now being 25 years old and publishing a book about it and being able to say, I did that, I made it, I'm here.
And of course, what you're telling the reader is you can make it too.
Yeah,
You're not alone. There is help out there. There are people who will support you. You just have to be willing to reach out and recognize that what's happening to you is not unique. You're part of a much larger society, and many people have the same concerns and the same anxieties. And I think in this day and age, understanding that is really key to getting on the road to wellness, isn't it?
absolutely it is. I think that's huge. And I do want other people to know, like, what, if I can do it, you can do it too. And you're not alone. And there's people out there that understand you and that love you and care about you.
That's a great message, Shelby. So what does the future hold for each of you? Do you have any plans to continue your collaboration in the publishing world?
I would definitely love to work with Michaela again. It was a really positive experience. I'm currently working on the manuscript for my second book, and I'm hoping that maybe Michaela will consider working. I know she has her own stuff going on, but I'm hopeful that maybe we can collaborate in the future. But for now, I'm focusing on, I graduate in December of this year. So I'm focusing on my occupational therapy career and whatnot, but I'm hopeful that in the future we can do something more together.
Michela?
I also hope to illustrate more books and possibly my own stories as well. I would also like to try illustrating greeting cards and stickers. I feel like um, the books and the cards would help people communicate and share their emotions. So I feel like I would really appreciate that intervene between people and being able to help that. My future would also consist of taking other avenues in the professional world of communications, media, and design as well, and possibly also create a travel book.
Oh, interesting. So, Michaela, tell me a little bit about what you want to do professionally when you graduate, because December is not that far away, is it?
Well, I graduate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you got another year to go, right?
Yeah, I have another year to go. I feel like there are a lot of different ways I could go about my future in communications. I have taken many different classes, such as like in the PR, journalism, storytelling, other creative um, classes, but also classes that focus on human behavior. So I enjoy all parts of communications, and I'm still figuring out where exactly I want to go in the future. But I feel like wherever I end up, I'll be happy.
And of course, with your artistic background, that gives you a leg up on many of those fields too, because that creativity is so important when you talk about journalism and communications and all that that whole entire field. Shelbi, how about you? Where do you want to go? Because you will be graduating in December.
Yeah, so I am actually planning on moving to Vermont and working as a pediatric occupational therapist over there. I really want to work in early intervention with children aged 0 to 5, um, essentially working on the skills that they need for life to have a successful and happy life. And I really hope I can make a positive impact and eventually come back here to the North Country so I can continue that.
So, that early intervention and early education, that zero birth to 5, is such a critical part of the development of a child. And often, by the time a child reaches school age, there are things that if they haven't had, they're going to have to play catch up on. And so early intervention is really a critical part of having a successful uh, educational experience by the time you get to be 5 years old. So I think that you are right on track with where you want to be, and that and especially with your own experiences, you're going to be very sensitive to the needs of the young people that you come in contact with. So good luck with that.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you both for coming in today. This has been a fascinating conversation, and I hope the book does very well because you've put a lot into it. And that, of course, is the secret to success is preparation, preparation, preparation. So in that sense, I'm sure you will both reap the benefits of this work. And the fact that you've been able to collaborate so well to tell the story is an added benefit for both of you, as well as for the completeness of the story you're trying to tell.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely been an awesome ride, and I'm really glad we got to sit here and have this discussion with you. It's been an amazing experience. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming in, and thank you for all the work that you both have done. So good luck in the future, and I am sure we will be hearing from both of you again, one way or the other. So these conversations are a production of North Country Matters. This show is a civic collaboration between the League of Women Voters of St. Lawrence County and the Potsdam Public Library. Until next time, remember, our North Country matters.